This is going to be really short. Mainly, I just want to say I am having this video done because I want to pass this down to the family, generation after generation. A lot of you heard of Grandpa, but you didn't know him. And I want you to watch this so you can always cherish my soulmate, your grandpa.
Dad was our rock, and she soared because he was our rock.
He definitely, for all his kids, grandkids, he showed you how to live life the way you should.
He was a great husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather.
He was that kind of guy. Wasn't in there for glory. Absolutely loved our country. And he knew the price of freedom. He really did.
He picked the fights because he wanted somebody to needle him back. I swear to you, that's his military in him and whatnot.
If you knew him for any length of time, you came under his wing. I mean, he got you.
And he cared so much about us. So much about us, and you can't even put that into words.
That and the passion and the, as Ida said, the romance.
I said, wow, does he have a brother?
Sometimes I'd look out there and think, is that a couple of teenagers all over each other? Oh, no, it's Bob and Ida.
It's Bob and Ida. When I decided that I wanted to do a video for Papa, or / Grandpa, because some of you call him Grandpa and some of you call you Papa. This is for all of our family to save and just cherish it. This video is really being made not just for the people that knew him now, but for the generations coming up that they never met him or they never knew him. We have 23 great-grandchildren and only a few got to know him, because we had so many so fast. Our 15 grandchildren all knew Papa, and also he was mentioned as Grandpa, so it doesn't matter what you called him. He was called Grandpa, he was called Papa. I called him sweetheart, I called him the love of my life, I called him my soulmate. We all loved him so much. It's interesting, when you're alive, you think everyone's going to remember you. But think about it. Do you know any much about our family's family? My great-grandmother, Grandpa's grandfather? You know the name, but you didn't know who they really were. So this is what this video is for, is to share some wonderful memories of what Papa or your dad represented. He was the nicest, most loving Christian man. I adored him so much. Love all of you, enjoy the video, and remember, this is for you to keep generation after generation. He said he had 4 to 6 weeks to live. He lived exactly 4 weeks. I kept rubbing his arm when we were coming home, and I said, "You are going to fool these doctors." He gets in bed. By the time he's in a wheelchair. That night I said, "Honey, what did you think? Did you understand what the doctor said?" "Yes." "What did you think?" He goes, "Well, I wasn't happy about it, but I have a good life."
Absolutely.
And it's okay. And I'm the one that cried, and he goes, "You're going to be okay, honey. You're going to be okay." So it was just an honor to be able to help him and do everything I could to get him well, but God had other plans. I'm just so glad all of you are here, and it's going to mean so, so much. What great memories. Your dad, your brother, your second father, your dearest friend, he loved all of you so much.
Maybe take the hand of the person next to you. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come as a family. And while all of us in this circle may not be directly related, we are family because of you. And we want to thank you for Bob's life and how he touched each of us in such a unique way. And we pray for Ida and the children, grandchildren, friends, siblings, all the categories that we are as we stand here. Holy Spirit, you're the only one that can give us the comfort we really need. And we thank you, Lord, that you'll come and pour grace into this family for these next 24, 38 hours of celebration and remembering and all the things that we will do together as a family. And let tomorrow not only honor your son, Bob, but also your son, Jesus Christ. Lord, I thank you that Bob gave his heart to you when he was a young man. And I'm sure when he was flying just beyond supersonic, going into the heavens, probably wondering, could I reach heaven from here? But Lord, he's there now, and we celebrate that. Amen. And we rest in your grace, which is sufficient, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Really missing Dad right now as I do this video, just because he and I were best friends and we love sports and talk football. But Dad was just amazing, and I have this picture that sits on my desk right behind me every day. And Rachel, who used to work for us, took this photo of us, and if you can see it, was just finishing up a client event a couple of years ago at the Durham Athletic Park, watching the Durham Bulls. And it was getting towards the end of the evening, and things were kind of calming down. And so Dad and I were just sitting there, and I just, Rachel surprised me with that picture. And I have it on my desk every day just because, Dad was just always there for me and my aspirations, my dreams. And I just think this photo is so touching because it's like we're sitting there, same kind of head nod, just watching the game and just on the same page. Dad, again, was my biggest cheerleader. He always was there for me. If I needed him in a second, he was there.
Well, I'm Keith Connolly. I'm the old guy, old like Bob was. And I first met him, well, we were friends for 65 years. We were aviation cadets together. And as luck would have it, he and I were roommates. And we fought the Battle of Stallings, as we call it, learning how to fly. And to appreciate any of that, you have to know that Bob had a very strong love of flying. He loved the vastness of the skies, the challenges, and the things that go with being an aviator.
This is one of my very special pictures of Bob because his sister was 13 and he was 3. And she had just gotten off an airplane, and flying then was a very unusual thing. And he was at the airport, and he stood in front of the airplane, and they took a picture. And he said, "Mommy, one day I'm going to fly airplanes."
He had to be 18 to go in. He had no college, nothing. He just signed up for flight school. Wow. Finished first in his class in academics and flight, the training part. That's pretty good. We used to say it's pretty good for a kid from South City.
There was a demand for pilots in those days, but they were very selective. We were in the aviation cadet program, as I mentioned, up at Stallings Air Base is where we started. It's our primary base to learn how to fly. And it was a tough course in those days because the washout rate was so high. Not everybody could fly. We had a class of, 50 some odd, and we lost about 36% of those people. Because remember, we were, 19, 20, 21 years old, young people with the dream of flying, and some of our comrades were told no. First time they really ever heard no, the word no. You can't be, we don't want you. So there was a heavy pressure to compete and get on with it. And like I say, Bob and I were roommates in those days, so we committed ourselves to the fact that they're not going to get us. They will not get us. We won't let in. And that's what was so good about sealing our friendship, because we helped each other and we had a mutual cause.
So yeah, it's my honor to be here today. I'm General Mark Kelly, retired from the Air Force March of 2024, and friends of Bob and Ida. It's my privilege to talk a little bit about his aviation journey. That is a big part of his life journey. And so Bob was obviously fascinated with flying at a young age, and that young age went from motivation into action. And that action led to joining the military, and this would have been the first military airplane he flew. Not the first airplane he flew, but the first military airplane he flew. It's a T-28 Trojan, which we trained aviators in the 50s on their journey. As he joined the military, during this chapter right here, he would have been an aviation cadet, so not an officer yet. And so he would have gone from this airplane all the way down the road at Kinston, North Carolina, to this airplane, which is a T-34 trainer. It's called a Mentor. And he went all the way over to Greenville, North Carolina to fly that. Since there is a town named Greenville in every state of our nation, he then goes to Greenville, Mississippi, and learns how to fly from propeller to the jet trainer in the T-33. Was trained thousands of our aviators back in the mid-50s.
So the years went by, and we learned how to fly, and we were transferred to Greenville, Mississippi in those days, and got into the actual jet flying. We were flying conventional airplanes with a propeller on them initially, and then we flew the T-33, which was one of the Air Force's first jets. And from that, we were commissioned and received our silver wings. That's a big deal to a pilot to have those silver wings. Somebody once said, when a pilot gets a pair of silver wings, it's always on your chest, whether you can see them or not, whether you're wearing them or not, they're always there, and I think they're right.
Once he finishes those 3 airplanes and proves himself to be a competent, capable, coherent aviator, he gets 2 things. He gets commissioned as a second lieutenant, and he receives his wings. His wings are here in this shadow box, if you would, framed right here.
After we got our wings and we went to fighter training, we were lucky, Bob and I both got fighter assignments to be a fighter pilot, which was our dream from day one. Fighter pilots are a bit different from people. We're people, but we're different. We look at things differently. And Bob was totally committed to doing the job of flying and whatever the military mission demanded.
The goal of not every pilot in the Air Force or the Navy is to fly fighters, but many. And he went on to fly the F-86, was still in the mid-50s, very, very capable, very, very prolific fighter in our inventory, from the F-86A to the F-86F. The F-86A, he would tell you if he was standing here, it was a bit of a handful for people to fly, but he was more than capable of handling that airplane.
We started out in the F-86, which is a Korean War airplane. But Bob really liked the F-86.
When you get over here, later in the 50s, you get to these airplanes, and not only is there the most of the F-100, the F-100 forms the bulk of his career. They made the greatest impact on his career, and he made the greatest impact on this airframe. This is the F-100 Super Sabre.
The F-100 Super Sabre. This is the 1950s. That was the very first plane that the Air Force had mass-produced that would go supersonic.
Bob flew this airplane around the globe. He flew this airplane to Nellis Air Force Base. He flew it at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa. He flew it in the Philippines. He flew it at Spangdahlem Air Base in Germany. He flew it at Aviano. He flew it at George Air Base in California.
And here we were, a couple of young people flying an airplane that broke the sound barriers. But we had the world by the tail. And it was a great, great, great time to know Bob and be part of his life, and him to be part of mine.
The interesting thing about this airplane, as many airplanes we have even today, like the F-16 or the F-35, is it's a single-engine airplane. The difference is today, our single-engine airplanes, the technology we have in our single-engine airplanes is much more advanced than what Bob had at his controls here, the F-100. So a very, very reliable airplane, a very, very reliable engine, but reliable doesn't mean perfect. And so, much like today, every now and then, rarely, the engine will fail. In 1962, Bob was at the controls of an F-100 Super Sabre over a place called Leech Lake in California, leading his force-ship. And the smartest thing he did is he briefed everybody in the formation, including himself, about some contingencies if they lost an engine. And if they lost an engine, non-negotiably, Newton is going to take over and that airplane's going to come out of the sky. And so it's how you handle it, from a physical to a mental to a patience, and make good decisions with it. And what he briefed his formation was that there was a place called Bicycle Lake, which is an emergency airfield, basically a dry lake bed near Fort Irwin, that was available should anyone lose an engine. Well, the guy that briefed the formation, and the guy that briefed that contingency, is the guy that had that emergency, which was Bob. And so when his fuel pump failed, his engine failed, and a wingman in his flight reminded him, hey, don't forget about Leech Lake, what he had reminded his entire formation. So he got to take an airplane that's built for 14,000, 16,000 pounds of thrust. It went to zero thrust He got rid of these things called drop tanks because all they are now is drag and weight that he doesn't need, and he ends up gliding his airplane down to a safe landing on Bicycle Lake. And so a phenomenal feat for any aviator to walk away from. Most aviators, when they lost an engine in that airplane, would have to jump out because there wasn't many options, and the options that were there were not good. He made a real good solution out of a real tough problem that day.
Bob was a very patriotic individual. He felt not only was it his obligation to serve this country, but he also felt that it was his duty. And so he was a great officer, and demanded a lot of respect from everybody else and gave a lot of respect from himself.
I'll tell you the story about the Grand Canyon if you want.
Yes, please.
About the time that, in fact, Keith Conley's here, and he was part of that group that did that. But it was a flight of 4 of them, and there was a guy that had flown in Korea that was the lead. And he was a captain. These guys were just like second lieutenants probably, or first lieutenants.
I was number 3, and Bob was number 4, and we had this individual who had a reputation for being a little rowdy, and then we had another pilot. And so we had finished our mission, and he said, "All right, flight, hang in there and drop in trail." Trail means we fall in one behind each other. So he would have been here, 2 here, I was here, and Bob was below me as number 4. Well, all of a sudden he headed over to the Grand Canyon and started down the center of the Grand Canyon, up near the water reservoir on the northeast corner, and now we were down in the middle of the canyon flying along the contour.
And they're just following where he went. The planes would turn when he turned, and they'd turn when he turned. And then did the whole canyon, and then came out on the other side.
As number 3 and 4, we were really hanging on there. We knew it was exciting, and you couldn't make any mistakes because you'd hit the bottom of the floor of the Grand Canyon. So at any rate, we went on for probably about 80 some odd miles throughout this Grand Canyon. And then he pulled up and we headed back to Nellis. When he landed, we went in for debriefing. I was soaking wet in my flying suit because I thought I'd met my good Lord. Bob was equally so because he was behind me fighting the same thing I was. Number 2, he was relatively dry in the lead while he was just dry as clover.
But it's amazing that they could do these things on the spur of the moment back in those days, in the 50s and 60s. I mean, the people that were viewing must have just, I can only imagine the noise it made.
might say describe him would be hard to do, but somebody once said that when you meet somebody, you know, for the first time, they may not remember your name. They may not even remember what you said or who you think you are or what you did. But they'll always remember how they made you feel as a person. And to me, that's a great description of Bob Terbet. He was just casual, non-assuming, comfortable to be around. He was that kind of guy. Wasn't in there for glory. Absolutely loved our country. And he knew the price of freedom. He really did.
I think the thing that I would always remember, just in general, is how calm he was, how kind he was, and loving. And there's so many things about him, but if I was just to use a few words, that would be, and he cared so much about us. So much about us, and you can't even put that into words.
There are very few men in this world where I can say I'd like to emulate. My father would be one of them. Bob would definitely be another one. He loved his wife. He loved his kids. He was a true patriot. He loved his country. But he loved spending time with everybody. He loved talking to people. He loved making that connection. He's one of the most genuine persons I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm happy to say that I knew him and I loved him.
His love for his family always stood out to me. The kindness and caring for everybody. Everybody was welcomed.
Absolutely, family and children. That, you know, talking to Michael a little bit last night, actually, you know, he said if I live half the life my dad did, that, yeah, that's a pretty amazing thing. So I would say just family in general.
He was always around, lots of holidays, family vacations, mainly family vacations at the beach, which Ida says wasn't his favorite, but I still think secretly he liked the beach.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, you see all the people that have come to visit, and all the people that'll be here to honor him. I mean, he's obviously impacted a lot of people, and you know, I know that him and my dad were very close, and I, you know, it was you know, it just, that kind of just shows like the relationship he had with him and with other family members, and I think it's a great kind of relationship you want to have with an uncle or with just any family member. And so I think, you know, everyone's got a great memory of him, and I know I have plenty. So it's, you know, for that I'll certainly miss him a lot. You know.
How he treated everybody, and just, you know, he's a really good person. Like, you know, it didn't matter who you were, he was always great to, you know, whoever he met, you know, and he's a good family man. So, and definitely patience is definitely a key there, because he had lots and lots of patience.
He's just an amazing person. Just, he loved, he's very, like we've mentioned before, just very quiet, but very deep. And you could tell that he really loved his family deeply. Of course, Ida. I mean, you never saw them unless they were holding hands, arms around each other. I mean, they were always very close in every way, all the time. And you could tell that he loved his kids, his grandchildren, and just a wonderful man. Just a wonderful person.
He instilled the hard work that I have to reach my goals, help people. There's, again, countless stories. I mean, my love for football is because of Dad, golf because of Dad. I finished playing the other day and played pretty well in the back nine, and my first instinct was to call Dad, but I know he was watching me. So I know he's in a much better place now. He's in heaven watching down on all of us, and I just love him so much.
Don't put him on a stage or anywhere that he has to be the one in the center of the room. He did not like to have to be where the star or the light was on him. And as long as he didn't have to have any of that attention on him, he was very happy. But he just adored us. And we knew it. And just, we loved him so much. And we knew he loved us.
And I guess the best thing about him, he could just tell the greatest stories, you know, and his humor, his candor. And, He never panicked. He never, whatever.
But he's such a great guy, dry sense of humor, never knew when he was teasing or serious.
Who's the better golfer?
He's going to be missed. Everybody loved, as Ida said, he didn't have, everybody liked Bob. He was just a great guy. So, he loved his kids, I know that.
You know, he's just, like I say, he was one-on-one. You know, I'm not intermediate family, but he always made me feel welcome in the family and my boys and kids. So I guess legacy is just, you know, the family man that he was.
I would say his love for family.
Yeah.
That's something that's an important pillar in our family dynamic. So it's just the importance of spending time, quality time.
Is that not the truth? Bob loved to pick the fights.
He had a dry sense of humor. I've been married to that man almost 47 years, and I would fall for it.
He picked the fights because he wanted somebody to needle him back. I swear to you, that's his military in him and whatnot. He wanted you to bar back. And if he didn't like you, he was not going to pick on you. He would rather avoid you and walk away from you at that point.
So if he picked on you, that was a sign.
Oh yeah, you're in. You're in. You're one of his people. And again, that's we just meshed right away. It was almost like, you know, Ida likes to joke about it. You know, she calls me the adopted child. I mean, she does. But I mean, you know. It was because of our connection, I think. You know, Bob and I really, really got along.
He definitely, for all his kids, grandkids, he showed you how to live life the way you should.
But no, he was just, if you met him, I don't know anybody didn't like him, you know. He's just one of those guys.
He left this behind for us to celebrate and to remember, but for our hearts to rejoice in the reality of where he is.
One of the last special memories that I have is when Mom was getting her, getting over knee replacement. Dad and I went to see Michael Bublé, and it was just the two of us. And Mom had gotten front row tickets. So we had an amazing seat, and it was VIP. And we went and got there really early because we had this special area we could go into. And the funny thing about it is that I think people thought I was his date. So they were kind of giving me and him the eye. And so, but we got to have this amazing night. Took a bunch of pictures of the two of us and got to be front row. And so he does this, a couple of really cool, amazing numbers. And in one of them, he talked about, I think it was his grandfather or a family member of his right before or right after one of the songs that is a veteran. And in doing so, he was talking about him, and then he plays the song, or maybe it was right after, and I pointed to Dad, and I made eye contact with Michael Bublé, and I said, Dad too, Dad too. And so after he sang, he looks at Dad and says, thank you for your service. And so it was so cool. And so Dad looks at me and he goes, do you think that was for me? Do you think he meant me? And I said, yes, Dad, he was talking about you. And he was always so humble. And he goes, no, he wasn't talking about me. And I said, Dad, he looked right at you. He looked right at you. He was talking about you. But he goes, no. I said, yes. But it was so cool because we were, I love his music, and Dad did too. And so in that instance, I hated the mom couldn't be there, but that was probably the last time that it was just Dad and I. And it was really, really neat. So, we were there all night, and it was amazing. And, Dad and I, danced a little bit, as much as you could in those when you're surrounded by people. But it was really amazing. That was a memory I'll never forget.
It's just all the family things that went on here. We bought Ida's listing. Oh, I didn't mention that to you. It was what got me to move. Oh, this was the best story ever. Chuck was in Atlanta on business, and he was going to be coming home on Sunday. And Ida, because back then in the day, there was no internet. It was a brochure, a colored brochure that she mailed me, and I got it in the mail. And Bob had taken the pictures of the listing in the house. And lo and behold, I see this lovely, I know this sounds silly, but it was a huge laundry room that had a window and storage. And I said, and our little house in Pleasanton, California was one level, and believe me, it was not big, but it's worked anyway. And I saw this and I said, this is really nice. So I called my husband in Atlanta. I said, do you think you could get to Raleigh and have Ida show you a house? And he goes, what? And he goes, well, yeah, I could. I'm not far. I said, well, would you mind doing that? Because she sent me this booklet, and this house looks really nice. Anyway, so he went on a Sunday, and she showed him 2 homes, and this was the second one, and it was her listing in this neighborhood that we lived in for, gosh, many years, until our son, who was only 6 or 7 at the time, left and went away went to college. So that's how long we lived there. And he would say to Ida, he goes, and then he met with a lender, and he says, Ida, you don't understand. I don't buy the shirts myself. How am I going to buy a house without Barbara? I never saw the house until the moving van moved everything. We came out here, we stayed in their bedroom in their home in Raleigh, and then the moving van showed up, called us and said, we're here. And that's when I saw the house. And it was perfect. And all of my son's friends that he met and they are all now, they all went to different colleges. They all come back to the Raleigh area. They all now have kids, and they all meet together and have birthdays, and we see them all, and it's just lovely. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect. So I highly guarantee the area was perfect. No fencing. Dusty said, and we don't have that many fences like you got. Yeah, we had fences everywhere. Nobody, don't you come to my yard, don't you come to my yard. But that was California. But yeah, it was perfect for us. But Bob's sense of humor continued on over the years.
But here's the deal. Over those 60 some odd years that I knew Bob, we used to play a game called Last Touch. And that meant when we'd see each other and visit, and we did that quite frequently, you would touch the person. Like, for instance, if they'd visited you, you touched them, put them in the car, and then close the door so they couldn't touch you back. I know that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it does. Our kids play
but,
it.
Well, and I like that. The kids play it, but imagine here's 2 senior citizens in their late 80s in the middle of an airport playing Last Touch. The Terbet family is pretty familiar with that, and that was just one of those things. But out of all the things that I'll miss, I think that'll be it.
We met Ida first, actually. She came, we saw her picture all over town as a top realtor, and so when it came time for us to sell our house, we'd lived there 13 years and wanted to expand a little bit. And we thought, let's call that lady with the red hair, Ida Terbet, you know. And so she came to our home right away, and we got to meet her right there and met all of our kids. And from there, afterwards, we got to meet Bob a little while afterwards.
I refer to Ida as a bit like an evangelist. She blows in, she blows up, and she blows out. High energy woman.
High energy.
And
yeah.
while we were at the table going through some of the details of putting our house on the market, she said, oh my goodness, I need to make a phone call. I said, Bob, it's Ida, Bob, now we're going to go to Bible study tonight, but I want to make sure that your socks match the outfit, not like last time. She said, oh, this man needs my help all the time. And
It was so funny.
The way I see it is, boy, the brother was able to somehow guide a $100 million plane through the air, but uncoordinated with his socks. But thank God for Ida.
He mentioned he prepped me the weeks before his family was coming in for this big celebration. He said, Anna, my Uncle Bob has a dry sense of humor. He will try and get you with a very sarcastic question that he knows the answer to. He's not a fool. He knows the answer to, but just be on your guard. Please show precaution. It's like, okay, I'm ready. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm ready for this. I can pass this family test. So we're having dinner with Nick's parents, Chuck and Barbara, whole family. His cousins Colleen and Kelly, and their daughter Olivia had just been born. Olivia's first celebration was to his graduation, and also Aunt Ida and Uncle Bob. We're sitting around at this great little Mexican restaurant on the border, which Uncle Bob really likes.
That's right. He did like it.
He's a big on the border fan.
Yeah.
So we're sitting around, about to order margaritas, and we know it's graduation weekend, and historically UNCW hosts their graduation on the second weekend of May, which typically lines up with Mother's Day. So we're having conversations. I am demonstrating that I am a competent girlfriend for Nick. And Uncle Bob, is conversing. He's like, "Oh yeah, what's on Sunday again?" I was like, "Oh, it's Mother's Day, right?" And the whole table's silent. They just know, like, she got. And so it was like, and I knew it too. At the moment I'd finished answering the question, I was like, he told me.
So we went to the second time we came to Myrtle. My kids were around 3 and 6, I do believe. And so anyway, so we fly into Raleigh. We stayed the first night with them in Raleigh, and then we decided to drive up. I think it was the next morning. But Ida, when you go to the beach from Raleigh, it's like a 4-car. I mean, there is so much stuff to pack. It's a pretty big process. So me and the boys were riding with Bob in his minivan, and then Ida had her car, her Lexus with Sarah and Margot. So they had it loaded down as well. So when we're driving over there, funny story is his Honda, the new technology, the vehicle's shut off, when you come to a stop sign to save on gas. So, I knew that, but my boys didn't. They were really young at the time. And Bob, just in as serious mode as he can, just kept saying, the car keeps dying on us, and you boys may have to help get out and push. And I'm trying not to laugh because I understand that, that he's joking with him, but he just never cracked a smile for the whole trip. It was a 3-hour trip, and every time we would stop, the car would shut off because it was, the automatic shut off and trying to save on gas. And so anyway, it was funny, but finally when we got there, he kind of let him know, and I had to kind of let him know that he was actually joking, because the whole time they thought they might have to get out and push the car. So it was a pretty funny story. So
like when we were all together, I know there was the last time we played golf was the last time we were here. I think it was our second day playing, and it started pouring down rain. And I remember we had to go hide under, there's a bathroom that was on the course, but it had like an awning, so we had to park underneath there. And then I remember Michael, he was like, okay, we're just gonna have to, hightail it back to the car, so that's what we did. And went back to the car, and then I remember Bob drove his van, and I remember we were going to Kroger, and I remember Michael, he called Ida, and he was like, we're gonna go to Kroger, you know, do you need anything? And she sends like a whole list of stuff to get, and he was like, I never should have called her.
And then the next time we were together with everybody was when we ended up in Myrtle Beach with them.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Ida actually was so excited because she was able to cook us breakfast and make grits and everything. So it was an exciting weekend for us. So it's like, and we didn't go out and really meet.
No, we just spent time together.
Just
with our schedules and the family schedules, we're always separated. I mean, we're on the other side of the country half the time. We spend down in Florida, they're up here in Virginia, the rest of them are on the West Coast or in the Midwest. So it's not very often we get together. When we do, we all love each other.
I think the thing about Dad was home, and it allowed Mom to go be as successful as she was and is. I didn't really think that there was anything that unique or different about it because he was just always there. I didn't think that was something that was different. We had a routine that he cooked dinner every night, or he did like the main entree and I did the salad or a side, and Michael set the table. That's just how it was. And Mom would work, and then she'd come home and we'd all have dinner, and she'd go do a listing appointment, and Dad and I would, you know, sometimes Michael got out of it, and, you know, we'd clean up, and then I would do homework, or Michael would do homework, and that's just how it was. And we were all involved in doing whatever was part of making our home what it was. So, but it was amazing because there was no set like Mom should be there or Dad should be there. That's just how it was. But we were very, very close.
Ida was a client of mine in the salon, and she came in and asked me if I would blow her hair dry, and I said no. I have to cut your hair to blow it dry. So she changed. I started cutting her hair, and we've been friends ever since.
But this is about after we moved from California to the Raleigh area. And that's the story I want to tell. And the headlines, I call it, is Folgers, as in the coffee. And Bob would laugh to this day by me saying that. So here was the deal. Ida kept saying, you guys have to come to Raleigh from California. You have a son, and he doesn't have to have play dates. He can play with all the kids in the neighborhood. And she would go on. And my husband got transferred with his job from the West Coast manager to the East Coast. So he was flying back and forth. And I was working weekends in new home sales, and you don't get off on the weekends usually. So I would have to farm my son out. Luckily, we had somebody that had a son the same age, and it worked out. But it just was one of those things where, it got old after a while, being on the plane back and forth from California to Raleigh. So then Ida, who kept begging us to come to the Raleigh area, calls me one day and she says, Barbara, we now have a Starbucks. You can move here. You see, the town we lived in had 2 Starbucks. I have a gold Starbucks card, which is one of the oldest cards they have, evidently, which I found out when we moved here. And so she says, you can move here now. We have a Starbucks. You don't have to drink Caribou, because we would come and visit, and I would go to Caribou, right? Which is nice. But anyway, so we finally moved here, and it was wonderful. But Bob would tease me about the fact that I was a Starbucks fanatic. And so we would go out to dinner, and we would go to their house, and they would make coffee, or I would make coffee. And he goes, now, what Folgers blend is this? I go, Bob, you know I'm not cooking. I don't have Folgers in this house. It's something else. I buy it at a coffee store. So his biggest joke to me, and he did it more than once, we would go to a nice restaurant, and he would get to the waiter and tell the waiter, he goes, look, I'm going to tell you that your coffee is really good here. So when I ask you, what is the blend you use? Say Folgers. So sure enough, he would do this to me and everybody would start laughing because they knew that I was not a Folgers drinker. I was either something with Starbucks or one of the coffee houses around. And he just continued that for many, many years, and because he had this dry sense of humor. And that's what I remember. So to me and Bob, it's Folgers. Yeah, I mean, but he made me laugh all the time. He had such a dry sense of humor. I mean, he truly did. And I would bite. You know, I would bite. My husband said to me, "Oh, you bit again." I go, "Well, you know, that's your brother." But that's what I liked about Bob. He just made us laugh in his dry sense of humor. Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Uncle Bob, and my dad's like this too, is like as soon as they get you like that, they just have this like very small smile on their face, and you just know like, okay, I get it. And I mean, I think one of my favorite stories it's similar in this, but I was much younger, but and I'll admittedly, I don't remember this myself, but it's been told so many times that I feel like it's memory now. But I was probably 3 years old, and I was riding around with Uncle Bob and my cousin Michael, and we're in Pleasanton, California, and we're going to the mall. It's like the P-Town Mall, and I'm sitting in the back, and my uncle, you know, just kind of says aloud, like, "Hey, anybody know where the mall is?" And at this point, we're like driving around the mall, like it's you know. So I just start going, "It's right there," you know. And then he's like, "I don't see it," and I'm like, "Uncle Bob, it's right there, it's right there." And he keeps repeating this, "I don't see it, I don't see it." And by the end of this, I'm just shouting, "It's right there!" And so my whole life, it just like that story just would get brought up, at, you know, and I just, I mean, it just really encapsulates like who he was, like what just the kind of humor that, you know, that he loved, and you know, just going with my dad, it's the same kind of thing. So it's I appreciated that kind of sense of humor, and I try to do a little bit of myself with my daughter and whatnot, but I've got a lot of big shoes to fill, so to speak. Yeah.
And I remember I was 13, I played my first full round of golf, and he happened to call. And he said, "What'd you shoot?" And I said, 150. And I was proud of it. And he chuckled, he says, 150? I said, "Yeah, I made a lot of putts." And he chuckled, he said, "Well, next time you go out, try and miss one less shot a hole." And within 4 months, I broke 100.
The New Year's Eve elevator
that's right, too.
debacle was one of our highlights.
That's so funny.
And just the display of Bob's cool, calm demeanor in contrast with Ida about to go into an anxiety attack was the perfect sort of illustration of opposites attract, and he was her rock where he was where she was for him, just this vivacious, unpredictable love of his life, and so that was always fun to be around, obviously. And we did some traveling together, and never a dull moment, never a dull moment.
And then with Ida, I have to tell you, we are so different in probably personalities. This is before they were married. Lisa had a birthday party for Bob in the townhome that he lived in Los Gatos. And so we were getting to meet Ida, and we were there, and there was this cake. And I don't know if people were running late. It was just more family, the kids. And she takes her finger and the icing on the cake, and she does this. And I go, I like her, because I would love to do that, but I don't have the nerve to do it. So from that day forward, I tell Ida, that was the best thing I could have seen. I liked you from that moment on, because you had the nerve to take your finger and take the frosting off of this cake that wasn't ready to be cut. And so that was my favorite thing with Ida too. I mean, it was just something that in my head, I wish I could have done that, but I wouldn't do it. But she did it, and I thought it was great. So to me, it was like what you see is what you get, and there's no, she doesn't mess around. So she really is. She's very honest about whatever it is she's doing, the listing, you name it. Yeah, that's how she is.
And I remember one time we went to the movies. In those days, you got a double feature. You got the newsreel, and you got a cartoon for a quarter or 20 cents or whatever it was. So we got through the newsreel and the cartoon's coming on. I still remember it was Tweety Bird and Sylvester the Cat. And I'm really, this is serious stuff here. And all of a sudden he stands up and he's jawing with this guy. And next thing you know, he pumps him in the nose. And I'm just saying, and then they had real ushers in those days. It comes down with a flashlight, and he gets kicked out of the show, so he's got to take me too, you know. It's like, oh, what happened? And he says, he was kicking the back of my chair and he wouldn't stop. And I said, oh, okay. So we walked home.
I remember when Ida and I, he goes, he would watch football or his sports in the bonus room, and Ida and I'd be watching a movie. Of course, she'd start dozing off, but he would bring up ice cream and little glasses with the whipped cream or whatever. I said, well, this is a nice treat. But every night he would bring her a little ice cream. They'd have their ice cream.
And Bob came into Ida's life, and it was like someone had gotten, what's the song, Love Potion number 9, and it didn't wear off. They were always mentally, socially, physically into each other. And they worked together as a real team. Bob was always so calm around Ida. Nothing flustered him. And Ida would have her pamphlets or her stuff to show a house, and she would have him go through, and it was amazing the little things he would see that she'd go, oh yeah, that has to be corrected. He really had an eye for, and really protected her reputation and making sure to make sure everything was perfect for her, because she wants everything perfect. That's Ida. So that's what he did. And he just loved her. There was never any doubt about their love for each other.
Yeah, and even in the last days, we would be in the bedroom and he would reach over and touch Ida and want to rub her breast, and she and they were just so affectionate, and it was so inspiring to see such love, and even in his last moments he was just as cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he also decided to give himself a shave 3 days before he moved to heaven. And he also, Ida went to kiss him, and he literally said, I need some mouthwash, I want my breath to be fresh. So it was just an inspiration to all of the friends and family that were there, just their love for one another.
Sometimes I'd look out there and think, is that a couple of teenagers all over each other? Oh, no, it's Bob and Ida.
It's Bob and Ida.
Yeah. Bob, get off that woman.
Don't settle down.
No, we love it. And we love
He was
them.
such a wonderful pilot. And when he was so always into history and tell stories, especially when he was in Vietnam and the Air Force. And I remember when he would take me to the airport, he pointed out the one area where he retired. He goes, that's the last place I parked the plane when he last flew. So it was always touching. So.
This one's not funny, so I do have one, and it was toward the end of Bob's life. On Ida's 77th birthday, which was December 28th, we went over to her house and to give her just support and love and be with Bob and the family. And I got a cake, and I told Bob in the bedroom that we were going to sing Happy Birthday to his favorite redhead. And we all started to sing, and we lit the candle. And sweet Bob could not sing, but his little lips were just moving, and it was just really precious. That would be something I will remember forever.
I wish I had 3 hours to talk about him. I really do. But the truth is, the man impacted my life, and I'm grateful for it. I haven't really talked about this. It was New Year's Eve about 4 or 5 years ago at Ida and Bob's house. And there have been a lot of things going on in my life because I help a lot of people out politically. And that night, I said, I think my New Year's resolution is I want to just walk away from politics. And Bob was one of the first people who called me a few days later, and he said, you're not the person to walk away. You're the person we need. And that meant more to me than a lot of people know. Not because I have a potential of winning an office or something. His point to me was that I say the things that people think. And a lot of people are afraid to say them. And he encouraged me to keep saying it. And that impacted me. And I'm grateful. Just grateful.
Bob was married before and had 4 wonderful kids. And out of those 4 kids, and I can't tell you all the children and great-grandchildren that have been born. So the Terbets are fertile myrtles. We have a very large family. We as a family did everything together. We really did.
All right, let's just start like that. Can you like delete all the blunders before?
Sure. Okay. All right. Kick us off.
My name is Madeline Price, and I am Ida's good friend and accountant. I met Ida somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago, and it's been quite the journey. And I met Bob, obviously, through all of that, and we've had many fun times together.
I am Eddie, and I am Madeline's husband. And I met Ida shortly after I met Madeline. Madeline had her come in kind of at Mark Augusti's house to see this new guy and give me the X or the check mark, I think. And I guess I passed.
You got the big check mark.
Okay. And I just remember that night very specifically. And then
You got the rain check mark.
Soon thereafter, I met Bob at one of our, Saturday night restaurant deals that we do all the time. And something that I always thought was awesome about Bob is, like in our relationship, she's the social butterfly and I'm more reserved and quiet. I listen more than I talk usually. And Bob is like that as well. But when Bob spoke, it was always, the timing was perfect. and what he said was always witty and funny, and usually it was at her expense, which would make it,
He always made fun of me whenever we posted on
if she had a new dress or shirt, he'd be like, Eddie, nice shirt, like stuff like that. But it was always very smart humor, and I just thought Bob was awesome.
My name's Steve Galuli. I've known Ida since I was about 28 years old.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah, about 30 years ago. But I always found her absolutely amazing. She had a house listed for sale in North Raleigh. At the time, I had a limousine business and I was flipping houses. And I'll never forget, I went to look at this really nice house and she said, son, you can't buy this house. And I said, okay, now you challenge me. It's on. And so I ended up putting an offer in that day and buying the house and fixed it up and sold it. And Ida and I have been friends and with Colleen and the family ever since. And several years later, I was sitting at dinner at Ray's, one of my good friends, Ray's restaurant, and had just separated in a relationship. And she said, you know what, I have the perfect girl for you. And I'm going to put her on the phone right now. And so, and there's Ida, so she went on the phone and FaceTimed Tammy and
At like 10:30 at night during COVID.
Yeah.
First time ever FaceTiming me, knowing her over 30 years. I'm like, what's wrong with Ida? I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, beautiful. And she says, oh, you don't look so good. It was COVID. I put my hair in a ponytail. I don't even think I washed my face. I worked out and I worked and it was still 10. I'm still working in my office and there she is FaceTiming me and I'm like, what's up? She's like, I've got someone I want you to meet. I'm like, right now? With a few expletives. And so she puts the camera in front of him and I'm like, oh, I know you. Okay. So she was the start of our relationship 4+ years ago.
Cafe Tiramisu.
Yeah, so we've been together over 4 years, and then we a couple days later, first date was her birthday party at Cafe Tiramisu, and we were with you all. Had a wonderful evening, and
Steve made a great first impression.
Yeah.
He did actually.
Yeah.
Your Ida approved.
I was like Bob, was real calm. And
It was more like Ida than Ida. We know the differences.
like she was saying, like, you really like this guy? But no, we're all wonderful friends, and I look up to you and your accomplishments in real estate. I respected Bob and the time that I had with Bob. I cherished every moment that I had, even laying beside him in bed a few days ago, just before his passing. He felt like a father to me, and we could talk about anything. And he was just an absolutely incredible, honorable man with huge integrity. And if I could be anything like him and have people speak like everybody does about him, that's a huge accomplishment in life. And Ida, you were blessed. God put him in your life for a reason, and you have wonderful kids and a wonderful family, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, and I appreciate the friendship, and we love you.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, so just to finish it off, I've known Ida and Bob for over 30 years, and they've always treated me like family. Many, many Christmases and Thanksgivings and all sorts of events with them and the kids. And I just always was so, I just always so admired the type of person Bob was, and was so happy for the kids that they got to experience a father that loved them that much, and for Ida to have a partner that loved her the way that he loved her. And their relationship was just always the most amazing love story. And every relationship I've ever had, I brought them to Ida and Bob. I said, this is the benchmark. If you can't attain this, then we're done. This is what I want in my life, what they have. And it's amazing that they met and within 7 weeks and created this amazing life and amazing family together. And it's gone through the years, and the legacy that Bob has left. Just one of the most amazing men I've ever met. So I appreciate you guys treating me like family, and I just love you guys, and we'll miss Bob immensely, as will so many.
Amen.
We love you, Bob.
Love you.
You, Ida.
Love you guys.
So who's going to host all the parties now?
Oh, Ida still will.
Start up question. Might not be in her condo, but she'll definitely be the host.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we look forward to making many more memories with you, Ida, and we're part of the family, and we appreciate you allowing us to be a part of the family. We love you.
I wanted to say to Ida and the entire Terbet family that I love you all deeply, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to know Bob and share so many wonderful memories together. We've been friends for almost 35 years, since I was actually pregnant with my first son. Over the years, I witnessed Bob's unwavering love for Ida and all of you. Bob's face would light up when he talked about his children and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. With Michael, they shared a special connection with their love for sports. And Colleen, with you, when he would talk about you, he was so proud of you for the woman that you've become and the mother that you've become. And he just loved you dearly. I was just talking about when he used to take you to work and pick you up. I just remember the stories he would share with us on that, which I mentioned earlier. And Jenna and Jacob, when he kept you two when you were little, he just adored both of you and his time with y'all. And he would share stories about that when we were out to dinner. And Olivia and Cooper now, he says, Olivia, you're so smart, and Cooper, you have so much energy. And the six of us, Ida, Bob, Doug, and I, Royce and Jeb, we shared so many special moments together: New Year's Eves, birthdays, Christmas parties, dinners, movie nights, and vacations. I will cherish those memories forever. We talked about God, family, friends, work, and grandkids. Bob loved discussing war movies and could answer any questions about war or flying. It was one of his great passions. Just 3 days before he went home, we watched Top Gun together in his bedroom, one of my favorite movies. From that time, we were walking in to sing Happy Birthday with his favorite redhead, and he just tried his best to sing. Although Bob couldn't sing, he moved his lips along with us. It was truly precious. Even in his final days, he showed Ida his love, reminded her she would be okay, and that he was ready to go home. I hope and pray that when my time comes, I am as fortunate as Bob to have the time to be surrounded by my loved ones and say goodbye and let them know how much they mean. Let us raise a toast to Bob, the most patient, kind, and loving man I've ever known. May he rest in peace, knowing how deeply he was loved and how much he will be missed by all of us. And to Ida, I am so proud of you. Your love and devotion to Bob, especially in these last weeks, have been nothing short of inspiring. You are one of my dearest friends, and Doug and I will always be here for you. You are truly remarkable, and I love you dearly. To Bob, may you rest in peace. We love you so much.
That was beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
We got to visit him a number of times before he passed, and on one time as I was leaving, I just felt to stop, and I said to Bob, "When did you get saved?" And he said, "Well, I was in my early 20s." And he told the story of a man who was a man of faith, read the Bible, and he shared with him the gospel, and he gave his life to Jesus in those early 20s. And even though Bob was not an overly demonstrative or talkative man, obviously what he experienced in his interaction with the Lord, it stuck.
It was very deep. There were times at church that I would watch him, like during worship service, it's worship time, and I would notice he would tear up. And he wasn't, like Linton said, very demonstrative, but he had a deep relationship with God that was very personal to him. Yeah.
He instilled the hard work that I have to reach my goals, help people. There's, again, countless stories. I mean, my love for football is because of Dad, golf because of Dad. I finished playing the other day and played pretty well in the back nine, and my first instinct was to call Dad, but I know he was watching me. So I know he's in a much better place now. He's in heaven watching down on all of us, and I just love him so much. And I think the service that Mom put together and the celebration of life was something that people have never seen, and it was just fitting for the man my dad was, and just so proud of him and what he accomplished. here on earth and had 89 amazing years. And if I can have or do half of what he did, man, I'm having an awesome life. And if I can pass his legacy on down to my kids, I'm telling you, we're pretty lucky.
Oh, this whole evening was supposed to have been a secret as far as my birthday and retirement. This was just going to be a Christmas party, and this is one thing that I've always dreaded for 29 years. It's to have to get up in front of all these nice people and say something. But I just appreciate your being here, and I have a lot of nice friends here, and thank you.
Everyone needs a shoulder to cry on. Everyone needs a helping hand. Everyone needs someone to rely on. Yes, everyone needs a friend. So let's come together, celebrate each other, stand united as one. We lift our hands up and pray, lay all our love before Him with all of our faith.
And so, Father, we ask that your Holy Spirit would just be precious among us today.
Let Him lead the way, lift our hands up and pray today. Oh, pray.
Oh, thank you for being good today.
Everyone needs somebody to lean on. Everyone needs someone who cares. If we come together as one, help each other get stronger. We are bound in the name of the Lord. So let's come together, celebrate each other, sing together.